At 9:17 p.m. local time, something entered Israeli airspace that no defense system on Earth was designed to stop. There was no warning, no siren, no red alert notification pushed to the mobile phones of 9 million Israelis who depend on those alerts to reach shelter before impact. The first indication that anything had happened was a blinding flash of light above the industrial district of Ashdod, followed 1.3 seconds later by a shock wave that shattered windows in a 600-meter radius. Then came the sound, a deep rolling thunder that residents described as unlike any explosion they had ever heard. It was deeper, heavier, as if the air itself had been torn apart and was struggling to close the wound. By the time the civil defense sirens finally activated, the missile had already detonated. By the time residents began moving toward shelters, the building it struck was already collapsing. By the time the Iron Dome operators realized what had happened, the engagement window had closed 4 minutes ago. Iran had just used the Fattah-2 Hypersonic missile against Israel for the first time, and the missile arrived faster than Israel's alert system could tell its citizens to hide. 4 minutes from launch to impact. The alert system needs 6 minutes to detect, classify, calculate trajectory, and push a warning to civilian phones. The missile beat the warning by 2 full minutes. 2 minutes is not a gap. It is a death sentence for anyone standing in the impact zone. Let me tell you what the Fattah-2 is, because this weapon does not belong to the same category as anything Iran has fired before. Everything else, the Kabar-N, the Saghl, the Ahmad, those are ballistic missiles. They follow modified versions of a ballistic arc. They go up, they come down. Their trajectories can be modeled, predicted, and intercepted by systems designed over decades to solve that specific mathematical problem. The Fattah-2 is not a ballistic missile. It is a hypersonic glide vehicle mounted on a ballistic missile booster. That distinction is not technical jargon. It is the difference between a weapon that can be stopped and a weapon that currently cannot. Let me walk you through the flight profile, because understanding how this weapon moves through the atmosphere is understanding why every air defense system in Israel was rendered irrelevant last night. The FO-2 launches like a conventional ballistic missile. A solid fuel booster accelerates the weapon to hypersonic speed during the initial boost phase, pushing it above the atmosphere to an altitude of approximately 100 kilometers. So far, this looks like any other ballistic missile. Israeli satellites detect the launch. Tracking radars acquire the thermal signature. Aero battery commanders begin calculating intercept solutions. Everything proceeds according to the protocol that has been practiced thousands of times. Then the weapon does something that no Iranian missile has done before. At the top of its trajectory, instead of following the predictable downward arc of a ballistic warhead, the Fattah-2 separates its glide vehicle from the booster. The booster continues on its ballistic path, a decoy that Israeli radars continue tracking. The glide vehicle drops into the upper atmosphere at approximately 80-kilometer altitude and begins to fly, not fall, fly. It uses aerodynamic control surfaces to generate lift, allowing it to skip along the upper edge of the atmosphere like a stone skipping across water. Its speed at this point exceeds Mach 13, 13 times the speed of sound, approximately 16,000 km/h. At that velocity, the glide vehicle covers 4.4 kilometers every single second. In the time it takes you to blink, the Fattah-2 has traveled more than 2 km. But speed alone is not what makes this weapon unstoppable. What makes it unstoppable is its flight path. A ballistic warhead follows a predictable arc. A hypersonic glide vehicle follows no predictable path at all. It can turn left. It can turn right. It can pull up, extending its range. It can push down, steepening its dive. It can perform S-turns, lateral jinks, and altitude changes that make its future position impossible to calculate with the precision required for interception. Israeli defense computers need to know where the target will be in 3 to 5 seconds to guide an interceptor to that point. The Fattah-2 can change its position by several kilometers in those same 3 to 5 seconds. The interceptor arrives at empty sky. The glide vehicle is already somewhere else, still moving at Mach 13, still maneuvering, still impossible to predict. Let me give you the specific numbers from last night, because the data tells a story that should alarm every military strategist on the planet. Iran launched 3 FO-2 hypersonic missiles at Israel. 3, not 30. Not a saturation barrage designed to overwhelm defenses through volume. 3 individual missiles spaced approximately 12 minutes apart. Iran was not trying to overwhelm the system. Iran was testing it. They wanted to see exactly how Israel's defenses would respond to a weapon they had never faced in combat. The first Fattah-2 was launched from a mobile launcher in western Iran at 9:13 p.m. Israeli early warning satellites detected the boost phase within 40 seconds. Tracking was established. Aero batteries received initial trajectory data, and then the glide vehicle separated from the booster, and the tracking data became useless. The Aero system attempted to engage. 2 interceptors were launched. Neither achieved a successful track on the glide vehicle. The engagement radar could see the target intermittently, detecting it for fractions of a second before losing it as the vehicle maneuvered. The interceptors flew to their predicted intercept points and found nothing. The Fa-2 struck Ash Dot at 9:17 p.m., 4 minutes and approximately 14 seconds after launch. The civil defense alert was pushed to phones at 9:19 p.m., 2 minutes after impact. The second FO-2 launched at 9:25 p.m. This time, Israel attempted a different strategy. Instead of relying on Aero interceptors, which are designed for ballistic trajectories, the IDF activated David's sling batteries and attempted to engage the glide vehicle during its terminal descent, the final seconds before impact, when the vehicle must commit to a relatively straight path toward its target. 3 David sling interceptors were fired. All 3 missed. The Fattah-2 struck an open area near Rahavat at 9:29 p.m. The warhead created a crater 11.6 in diameter. No casualties resulted because the missile landed in agricultural land, but the crater tells you what would have happened if the aim point had been 800 meters to the east, where a residential neighborhood of 12,000 people begins. The third Fattah-2 launched at 9:37 p.m. By now, Israeli air defense commanders knew that neither Aero nor David Sling could intercept this weapon. They attempted to engage with everything available simultaneously. 2 Aero interceptors, 2 David Sling interceptors, and for the first time in this war, an Iron Dome battery was directed to attempt engagement during the terminal phase. 7 interceptors total were fired at the third Fattah-2. 7 missiles, each costing between $50,000 and $3.5 million, launched at a single incoming weapon. All 7 missed. The Fattah-2 struck the northern outskirts of Beersheba at 9:41 p.m. It hit a commercial warehouse district. The warehouse it struck contained imported electronics inventory. The building was destroyed. 2 security guards were killed. 11 people in surrounding buildings were injured by the shock wave and flying debris. 3 missiles launched, 11 interceptors fired, 0 successful interceptions, an interception rate of 0%. Let me say that again, 0%. Israel's entire layered air defense system, the most sophisticated missile shield ever built, achieved a % interception rate against the Fattah-2 Hypersonic glide vehicle. The shield did not crack, it did not bend, it simply did not exist against this weapon. Now, let me explain the alert system failure, because this is the part that transforms a military problem into a civilian catastrophe. Israel's Home-Front Command operates one of the most advanced civilian warning systems in the world. When a missile is detected, the system calculates its trajectory, determines which population zones are threatened, and pushes alerts to mobile phones, activates public sirens, and broadcasts warnings on radio and television. The system is designed to give civilians between 60 and 90 seconds to reach shelter. That window is tight but functional for ballistic missiles, which have flight times of 8 to 12 minutes from Iran to Israel. The alert goes out at approximately the 6-minute mark, giving civilians 2 to 6 minutes to reach cover. The Fa-2 breaks that math entirely. Its flight time from western Iran to central Israel is approximately 4 minutes and 14 seconds. The alert system requires approximately 6 minutes to complete its full detection, classification, trajectory calculation, and dissemination cycle. The missile arrives before the cycle completes. This is not a system malfunction. The alert system worked exactly as designed. It simply was not designed for a weapon that travels at Mach 13. No alert system on Earth is. The technology to detect, track, and warn against a hypersonic glide vehicle in real time does not currently exist in any country's civilian defense infrastructure. Not in Israel, not in the United States, not anywhere. The implications for Israeli civilian life are devastating. Since this war began, Israelis have relied on the alert system as their lifeline. When the siren sounds, they run to shelters. The system has saved thousands of lives during conventional missile attacks. Against the Fattah-2, the system is useless. There is no siren. There is no warning. There's only the flash, the shock wave, and the sound of a building coming down. Israelis cannot be told to live permanently in shelters. They cannot go to work in shelters. They cannot send their children to school in shelters. They cannot eat, sleep, and exist in underground rooms for months or years. The Fattah-2 takes away the one thing that made life under missile attack psychologically survivable. The belief that you will be warned that you will have time to reach safety. That belief is gone. Against this weapon, there is no time. There is no safety. There's only luck. Either the missile hits your building, or it does not. And there's nothing you can do to influence that outcome. Let me explain how this weapon was developed. Because the FOA-2 did not appear from nowhere, its creation represents a technological journey that the West failed to prevent and may no longer be able to counter. Iran first announced its hypersonic missile program in 2022 when it unveiled the Fattah-1, a missile it claimed could reach speeds of Mach 13 to 15. Western analysts were skeptical. Hypersonic glide vehicle technology is extraordinarily difficult. Only 3 countries were known to possess operational hypersonic weapons: the United States, Russia, and China. The engineering challenges, the heat-resistant materials needed to survive atmospheric friction at Mach 13, the guidance systems capable of functioning inside a plasma sheath that blocks conventional communications, the control surfaces that must operate at temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees C were considered beyond Iran's indigenous capability. Those analysts were wrong, or, more precisely, they were right that Iran could not do it alone. But Iran was not alone. Intelligence assessments compiled since the beginning of this conflict indicate that Iran received significant technical assistance from both China and North Korea in developing its hypersonic glide vehicle. Chinese expertise in heat-resistant ceramic composite materials and North Korean expertise in solid fuel booster technology were reportedly transferred to Iran through a network of front companies and academic exchanges that Western intelligence agencies failed to disrupt. The Fattah-2 is not purely an Iranian weapon. It is the product of an international collaboration between 3 nations that share a common interest in undermining Western military dominance. And that collaboration has produced a weapon that works. Let me connect this to money, because the economic implications of a weapon that cannot be intercepted are staggering. Israel has spent approximately $8 billion developing and deploying its multi-layered air defense system over the past 2 decades. Arrow, David's Sling, Iron Dome, the radars, the command networks, the training programs, the maintenance infrastructure. $8 billion. Last night, that $8 billion system achieved a cent interception rate against a missile that costs Iran approximately $5 million to produce. 3 missiles at $5 million each, $15 million in total, against an $8 billion defensive infrastructure. And the $8 billion system did not stop a single one. But the cost is not just in defense spending already made. It is in defense spending that must now be made. Countering hypersonic glide vehicles requires entirely new interceptor technology. The United States is currently developing the Glide Phase Interceptor, or GPI, designed specifically to engage hypersonic threats. The program is in early testing. It will not be operationally deployed before 2028 at the earliest. Its estimated development cost exceeds $12 billion even when deployed. Its effectiveness against maneuvering hypersonic targets is uncertain. Israel cannot wait until 2028. It is under attack now. Its only near-term options are to develop its own counter-hypersonic system, a process that will cost billions and take years, or to acquire American technology that does not yet exist in deployable form. In the meantime, every Fattah-2 that Iran fires will arrive without warning and land without opposition. Now, let me explain the strategic calculation that Iran is making, because deploying the Fattah-2 is not just a military decision. It is a political and psychological weapon of enormous power. Iran does not have unlimited Fattah-2 missiles. Intelligence estimates suggest Iran possesses between 30 and 50 operational units. That is not enough to destroy Israel through volume, But it is enough to demonstrate repeatedly and undeniably that Israel cannot protect its citizens from this threat. Each Fattah-2 launch sends a message. Your defenses do not work. Your alert system cannot save you. Your technology, your billions, your alliances, none of it matters against this weapon. That message is not directed at the Israeli military. It is directed at the Israeli public. It is directed at the mothers who cannot protect their children, at the business owners who cannot protect their employees, at the politicians who promise security and cannot deliver it. Iran is using the Fattah-2 to break Israeli morale, not through mass destruction, through demonstrated helplessness. Let me tell you what this means for the rest of the world. Because the Fattah-2 is not just an Israeli problem, it is a global problem. If Iran can build a functional hypersonic glide vehicle, other nations can acquire the technology. North Korea, which helped develop it, certainly has access. Syria, a close Iranian ally, could receive it. Non-state actors with sufficient resources and state sponsorship could eventually obtain it. And the fundamental problem that the Fattah-2 exposes, that no current air defense system can reliably intercept a hypersonic glide vehicle, applies equally to every country on Earth. The United States, with its $886 billion annual defense budget, cannot currently defend its own cities against this class of weapon. The Patriot system cannot intercept it. The THAAD system cannot intercept it. The Aegis system aboard American destroyers cannot intercept it. The technology gap between hypersonic offense and missile defense is the widest it has been since the dawn of the missile age, and Iran just demonstrated that gap in combat for the first time in history. Here is what I need you to understand. Iran fired 3 Fattah-2 hypersonic missiles at Israel last night. Flight time 4 minutes and 14 seconds. Speed Mach 13. Israel's alert system needs 6 minutes to warn civilians. The missiles arrived 2 minutes before the warnings. Israel launched 11 interceptors from 3 different defense systems: Arrow, David Sling, and Iron Dome. Every single interceptor missed. Interception rate 0%. 2 civilians killed, 11 injured, 3 impact sites, and an $8 billion air defense system rendered completely ineffective by 3 missiles costing $15 million total. Mainstream media is reporting this as Iran's latest attack on Israel. They are showing you crater footage and interviewing shaken residents. They are not explaining that the alert system physically cannot warn civilians in time against this weapon. They are not telling you that 11 interceptors achieved 0 interceptions. They are not explaining that no country on Earth has a deployed defense against hypersonic glide vehicles. They are not asking the question that every defense ministry in the world is asking this morning. If a $5 million Iranian missile can defeat an $8 billion defense system, what exactly are we spending our defense budgets on? The story they are telling is about an attack. The story I just told you is about the moment a new class of weapon was proven in combat, and every air defense system on the planet became obsolete against it. Both stories are true, but only one of them explains why the rules of warfare changed permanently at 9:17 p.m. last night in a flash of light above Asht that arrived 2 minutes before anyone was told to take cover. Subscribe to War and Money Report. We deliver daily intelligence briefings that track the weapons reshaping modern warfare, connecting hypersonic technology to defense economics, missile speed to civilian vulnerability, and the cost of weapons that work to the cost of defenses that do not. Hit the notification bell because the Fattah-2 has been proven in combat.